I like Italian mid-century lighting. I like 20th century decorative arts. That's sort of bolstered up by big lumps of oak furniture. That's basically the look. I'm an interior decorator and an antique dealer. Been here for about 10 years, maybe a bit longer. Haven't done a lot to the place since I moved in. Obviously, my main interior decorating inspiration is the film Withnail and I. As you can see, the whole place is totally falling to pieces. I grew up in central London, actually, in Baker Street. I kind of left school, or school left me, and my dad was like, well, you're not going to hang about. And I had to go to the job centre on the Edgware Road, and there was a job working for an antique dealer. So I went and worked for this very strange outfit on Marylebone High Street. Very Edwardian, chain-smoking, tea-drinking lady. It was one of those weird things that it sort of found me rather than me finding it. I'd always been really interested in photography and cinema. French movies and Italian movies of the 50s and 60s. I used to watch those movies mainly for the sex and the style, that you see in Godard films. And then when I first started getting interested in rooms, that was the period that first interested me, looking at Billy Baldwin, looking at Parish Hadley, looking at David Hicks, that kind of... it was very masculine, the sort of decorating that I liked. I started dealing on my own, and I had a shop in what was at the time a very hot street in off Westbourne Grove. I sold things to Lucian Freud, to Anish Kapoor, John Galliano. When I was that age, it was a really kind of an astonishing thing for me. It was kind of almost like a fantasy in itself to have the things that I liked being approved of by people like that. By the time the shop was closed, I had started decorating. Very accidentally. I've got 2 large rooms, one of which is my office, where I work, and then this sort of big sitting room and a kitchen and a tiny bathroom, and a room where my children sleep, which nobody wants to go in there. Furniture plans, they're kind of self-designing. Just have to think about it in a sensible way. I want to sit near the fire and be able to look at the television. They're 2 basic human needs. So, that's really it, the fireplace does all the heavy lifting, and it's like a lot of things with decorating. You need, a good, solid architectural element. You can get away with murder, as you can see. Got a very nice Moroccan dish that I broke on the way home from the airport. I've got some Indian puppets of Hanuman and Ganesh. I've got these speakers, which are old studio monitors, because I like music. And I had this sofa. Poor old lady, she's going to have a bit of work done. It's an old, it's a Howard model sofa. And this is a chair that we make in a fabric of mine. And I've got a big mahogany cupboard over there that's got, don't laugh, all my sports gear in it. I've built a little nook in the corner here, which is very weird. But it kind of works for me. And I've got all these screens. I collect these. I don't really collect anything, but I do buy these Bauman screens whenever I see them. It sort of works for me, and I'm quite cozy in that. Plus, obviously, I can look at the fire. This is my office. This is where we work. The walls are the same colour as the sitting room, which is one of these papers and paints kind of putty colours. I have a lot of tables in here because I like to lay everything out flat. This is a beautiful lamp. It's called the Pipistrelle, bat. It is something with sentimental value because one of my kids knocked it over and broke the shade, rendering it completely valueless. Ashtrays from the 1980s in the shape of boxing gloves. Obviously, there's all of these samples of the books that we sort of tend to use the most and suppliers that we tend to use the most. And then I've got the cupboard of shame, which is surprisingly tidy. Not that we were expecting visitors or anything. I'm lucky that I've got 2 open fires here. Flat has very big, drafty 19th century windows, so who's been here in the winter, it's a bit Dr. Zhivago sometimes. Do like things that aren't perfect. You know, I'm not quite sure what perfection even means. I've got this wonderful La Cornue oven, which, you know, has 2 kind of settings, you know, scorch or gently warm up. There's nothing in between. The light is one of those great Moroccan lanterns made of old sardine tins, which I love. This lamp is a really lovely thing. It's a 1930s French industrial lamp. There's this drawing Ruined, which is often how I feel, by Sue Skeen. Jeremy Deller, that poster, Let Them Eat Base, I'm a huge admirer of his. A piece of bunting, which I think was kind of maybe even First World War bunting, God Save the King. And then I've been buying, for some reason, these silver things, which is really kind of ye olde antique shop. The bigger one is Caribbean silver. It's had 28 years of children's birthday cakes on it. And the bathroom through there it's a complicated space because it's very small. So we had the idea of completely enclosing it in tiles and putting in a Japanese bath in there, a wooden bath. I like to bathe, you know, and I like to sort of have a bit of a moment, and I listen to the radio. I often call my friends and they're like, "Sound like you're in the bath." I'm like, "Yeah. Do you mind us speaking later?" And I don't know why that's weird, but apparently it is.